Good evening. My name is Marvin Vincent, and I'll be analyzing the Air Force Supply Squadron case. A little bit of background on the case. We'll be analyzing the leadership techniques and attributes of Colonel Pete Novak. Colonel Pete Novak was assigned to command an Air Force squadron that airlifted supplies to combat units during the Korean War. The squadron had more than 200 men and several cargo planes. When the colonel assumed command, the situation was very bleak. They were short on supplies, personnel, and replacements. Organization and coordination were poor, and there was little cooperation and teamwork among the different sections of the squadron. Morale was low due to the unrelenting workload, the constant bickering and disagreements, and the stress of flying into a combat zone. So in this case, I analyzed three major points: the performance and motivation aspect of leadership, relationships and communication, as well as conflict management. So the case questions were: what effective leadership behaviors were exhibited by the colonel? What does the case illustrate about effective leadership? Moving on to the questions. The first question: what effective leadership skills were exhibited by Colonel Novak? In analyzing these leadership skills, I broke them up into 4 different stages. The first stage was the motivation stage, or the development of motivation. Initially, the colonel worked on addressing the motivation aspect of the squadron's performance. Specifically, he created a sense of commitment by explaining the importance of the squadron's efforts to the success of the war. By doing this, he cultivated a sense of responsibility and power for the squad members. So in this stage specifically, the colonel bridged the gap between the efforts of the individual members and the final result, which was the success of the war. I think this was a very good way to start off his leadership. This way he created that correlation and helped to motivate the squad to be able to do what they needed to do and ultimately be a success. In stage 2, the colonel moved on to building relationships, which was a very important part of the entire process. Colonel Novak employed different leadership skills to build interpersonal relationships with his squadron, and this allowed him to gain influence and power among his squadron members. He took the time to get to know his squadron, exhibiting emotional intelligence, which is a good leadership quality. He took into consideration the needs and wants of the individual squadron members, getting to know their family, the things that they might need on base, various things to help better understand the person, not just as a subordinate, but as an individual themselves. He showed effective communication skills, taking into consideration the members' needs and wants. He also showed a good use of counseling skills. So he was a good listener. Colonel Novak made use of several leadership styles, which include participative, transactional, transformational. All these different leadership styles he used in order to work with the squad. He used charismatic and servant leadership attributes, working for, with, and alongside his squadron, and listened to their concerns in order to build a solid relationship with his squadron. I think these techniques that he used helped to build a very good relationship, interpersonal relationship with the squad members, which helped him to build a personal relationship with his squad members. By implementing these techniques, he got to know his men better, and they got to trust him more to be able to do his job as a leader, and for him to lead them effectively. We move on to stage 3, which was the team building phase. In this phase, after learning the various personalities and skills of the individual members, the colonel used group development techniques and work redesign in order to get the squadron up and running effectively. In this case, he figured out what each member was good at, their pros, their cons, their weaknesses and strengths, and he either adjusted their work in order to fit that person's personality, or he relocated different individuals for them to fit into a position where they worked the best and they were the most effective. He identified and put to use members' skills and personality traits in positions and jobs that they would excel at. Within the team, he also adequately delegated power to his subordinates in order to develop a sense of empowerment and build morale and responsibility. So in this entire stage, he did do a very good job of empowering each one of the squadron members and the squadron on a whole, and made them feel like they were part of the solution. And they weren't just, say, for example, a means to an end, but they actually had an input and they were involved. Again, building on the first stage of motivation. Stage 4. As referenced in the background, it was a very high conflict situation. The fact that these men were going into war, different personalities, the stress of the times was extremely difficult. And stage 4 was the colonel being able to deal with conflict resolution as well as stress management. The colonel created a healthy environment for the discussion of issues and conflicts within the squadron, utilizing, collaborating, compromising, and accommodating conflict resolution techniques. So throughout this entire situation, there were certain situations where the colonel would have most likely compromised. He had certain situations where he was accommodating of his subordinates, and other times when they collaborated and worked together to be able to find the best solution that would work for both the squadron and the leadership and the entire war effort on a whole. He created a positive work environment and in turn reduced stress within the group. Again, war times are very stressful. There's a lot of violence, killing, a lot of very difficult and stressful situations for someone to deal with mentally, emotionally, as well as physically. And creating that positive work environment, boosting the men's morale, giving them something to focus on, a vision, help these men to remain motivated, help them to remain committed, and help them to fulfill their duties and become successful. So moving on to the second question, what does the case illustrate about effective leadership? So this case clearly shows the benefits of effective leadership, hands down. This was a wonderful case to analyze, and it showed that how the colonel used many different leadership techniques and attributes in order to be an effective leader. Colonel Novak made great use of various leadership techniques. I think one of the ones that stood out to me the most was making use of techniques like the 3 R's model: resilience, responsibility, and relationships. The colonel exhibited resilience, remaining dedicated to the war effort and sharing his vision and commitment with the squad. That was basically in the first stages where he built motivation among the squad members. He built good personal and professional relationships with his squad members. He took the time to build personal relationships and earn their respect. He chose to lead from the front and not by ruling over, which helped him to gain the trust of the people under him. I think that would be mainly stage 2 and 3, in which he built a really good relationship with his men and helped them to fit into the best possible situation for the success of the war. Lastly, he took responsibility for the squadron, building them up, delegating tasks and taking the lead when necessary. I think Colonel Novak did a wonderful job taking responsibility for the group, being their leader, but still allowing them to be part of the entire experience and giving them the empowerment to be able to be successful in this situation, especially in such a dire situation as war. I think he exhibited wonderful leadership traits and characteristics. In conclusion, Colonel Pete Novak exemplified many traits of good leadership, and because of his excellent leadership skills, it led to the success of the squadron. I 100% believe that this was an excellent case exhibiting many traits of good leadership. Colonel Novak was an extremely good leader. He did what was necessary in order to build his group up. He led from the front by his actions. He exhibited extremely good emotional intelligence and took care of his subordinates mentally, physically, and emotionally. And he didn't just focus on their performance, but understood that by making them as comfortable as possible and taking care of many of their wants and their needs, he made it easier for them to function as a group. And I think his wisdom and knowledge and understanding of how to deal with the situation was clearly shown in this entire case, especially given the fact that this case was a case that involved war and a very high stressful situations. Not just say, for example, a situation where there's just an organization and there's business and there's just money involved, but people's lives, their livelihood, the success, downfall of a country is at risk. And I think this case was an excellent example of what a good leader should be. And I think that anyone can learn from this case and learn from Colonel Pete Novak's actions as a leader. Again, I want to say thank you. This was a wonderful case to analyze.